Hey guys, Mario with JDM Fitness, and you guys have to help me think of a new intro because I realize how monotone and shitty I sound whenever I just say, hey guys, Mario with JDM. Anyways, straight into the topic here. I realize that many people, when they first start getting into weightlifting, they tend to come across these stupid fucking calculators, and sorry that I'm swearing in this, but this is how much it irritates me. They somehow run into these calculators that give them an estimate of how much lean mass they can theoretically put on in 1 year. And the thing with this is that, actually, before I go into that first, I want to talk about what type of calculators you run into and the very generic type. So if you were to go on Google right now and type in weight calculator, muscle calculator rate, whatever, you would get something from Scooby saying that the first year you'll gain 24 pounds, second year 12 pounds, third year 6, fourth year half. So essentially, it just decreases by half the amount every time. And I have to say, these calculators are the farthest thing from the real world because I personally believe that they're full of shit, and I just have not found any sort of empirical data to support these claims or support this calculator per se. So right here I have muscle rate calculators and why I believe they are bullshit. I realize that there's many facts, but these are essentially the ones that I want to talk about primarily because they're just the most important and why they come into play. First being that there are too many factors to take into consideration. We are not all the same. There is no such perfect model that, yes, we can all gain 24 pounds of lean mass in our first year of training, because does that rarely ever happen? Not really. B, again, like I just mentioned, this is the real world. The real world. We are not perfect beings. We don't have the ability to train 3-4 days a week, and we just don't have access to, I guess you could say, the most optimal way of kind of living our lives in order to quote-unquote enhance or promote this magical 24 pounds of lean mass in 1 year. Third reason being our genetic and our hormonal response to training, whether it's favorable or not. And if you guys remember a post I made on JDM a while back, I essentially said that any two individuals can respond to the same training protocol. The only difference is how we respond to it. So assume that we have X competitor and average Joe. Our X competitor is going to respond more favorably to a program, a strength training program, and his, I guess you could say, his results will be more noticeable in time as opposed to average Joe, who might slowly increase his strength, might start slowly making gains at half the rate of competitor X. Fourth, when it comes to these muscle rate calculator bullshit things, I'm going to use Scooby's for example because I think it's the most ridiculous. Essentially, you have three options. You have the typical American diet, and bodybuilding diet, which is, I'm pretty sure, orthorexia, because it's literally a template of 7 meals with chicken and brown rice. And the third option was just some random, I believe it was like following really no diet at all option. I don't remember off the top of my head. And let's assume that our hypothetical 24 pounds of lean mass is the perfect number to actually gain. How can we ensure that our average Joe trainee is actually intaking enough calories and intaking sufficient protein in order to synthesize lean mass, or this magical 24 number that's come about? So rarely often do we ever see our average Joe first intaking a sufficient, just overall sufficient nutrient intake. It's just highly unlikely. And our final one up here, or at least the first one on the second set over here, is our plateau will be inevitable. So as we know, many beginners run into this plateau phase, and we have to assume that they are not following a standardized progressive overload linear protocol, or a program that just is pushed forward towards linear progression of some sort. Rarely will you ever find a novice actually following a standard protocol. So you'll see a beginner run into a plateau and immediately say, oh, well, maybe I should start doing bench like 2-3 times a week. I'll do drop sets, pyramid sets, burnout sets, and I'll get bigger that way. Continues to do pyramid sets, drop sets, but still he is not making any gains. And then what's going to happen at that point? And not many beginners are aware of their caloric intake, which kind of leads into the next one here. So their caloric intake, because they aren't intaking sufficient calories, or they're intaking too many calories, which now runs into point G at the right beneath it. So these three kind of just run in the same path. And then G being that novices at this point now are not sure if whether they should cut or bulk. So, and by this I mean that if, let's assume that they're not intaking many calories, oh bro, I'm not big enough yet, I should probably just keep bulking. Now they bulk, and now they've just gotten fat, and they really haven't made any muscular gains because they just look like fat shit now. And I'm sorry to swear in that, but that's kind of being the truth. And now, let's assume that someone who's only been training, 7-8 months, kind of, ran out their newbie gains for a while, made improvements on their physique, but now they just look chubbier, and now, I guess you could say skinny fat, or whatever type of model you want to use for this individual. Now, for the time that they could have been bulking slowly, intaking sufficient calories, and been making increases in strength and overall hypertrophy, now they're fat, and now they have to decide, oh, I think I'm going to cut. They go into this hardcore keto diet, cut out all my calories, binge, and, essentially that is the reality of how situations like this occur. And then following my final point for why I believe these muscle rate calculators are full of shit is because not many beginners follow a structured training protocol that will periodically induce progressive overload and deliver true strength gains. And co-admin Josh Anderson even made a post on this saying, strength gains are full range of motion and an increase in weight periodically over time. It's not decreasing range of motion and increasing your weight 10 pounds. It's not throwing 30 pounds on a bench press, and only being able to hit 1 or 2 reps and being stuck at that weight. That is not true strength. That is not an increase at all. And again, we have to assume let's assume that our lifter is natural. So now that I've covered these points, our lifter is natural. He is not on any sort of anabolics. And realistically, again, this touches back into the real world. We rarely ever follow a protocol, or we rarely have such a gifted individual that can really put on 24 pounds of lean mass in 1 year. If you think of it, that is a full body recomposition. You take your average, let's say 150, 60 pound male, and you add 24 pounds of lean mass. You are talking about an entirely different physique in 1 year from, if you want to call it, newbie gains. But that just rarely happens. It takes years before we can actually see a very linear, or not very linear, but an actual body recomposition. So if I were to look at someone in 3 or 4 years from now and say, wow, that person has changed, that is what 24 pounds of lean mass on somebody would look like, followed by maybe an additional 6 or 8. So that is the point I'm trying to make. So what is the best thing you can do? The best thing that you can do as an individual is focus on your own gains. So by that I mean, don't pay attention to these stupid muscle rate calculators and say, well, I've only been lifting 1 year and 6 months, so really I should have put on X amount of pounds, but I don't think I have. Don't even worry about these, because these calculators are full of shit. The best thing that you can do is focus on your macronutrient intake, and ensure that you're actually in a caloric surplus, but just a minimal caloric surplus needed to induce strength gains and induce overall hypertrophy, and or assist you in hypertrophy, excuse me. And I did not record this beforehand, so sorry for kind of blurting things out here and there accidentally, having to kind of apologize for saying something stupid or having to correct myself again. But hopefully this rant video has helped you guys out as to why I truly believe that these calculators are something to deviate away from and not pay any attention to. And again, Mario with JDM Fitness. Hopefully you guys have subscribed to the Facebook page and the YouTube and all that. And yeah, just take a look at the page. We'll be posting more often. So thank you guys, and stay safe.